Hello and welcome to another guide. This time we're going to be taking a look at Momon, but not the one that you're seeing right here in the throne room, but the limited version of Momon, also known as Halloween Momon, and officially named as Momon the Raven Black Rider. I know I just made one guide about this same character the other day, but I didn't quite like it. It wasn't as decent as the others I have done. So this time I'm gonna be doing the same guide, the same character, same recommendations and everything, but a little bit more organized because I think that I made myself quite a mess when trying to explain everything about this character. So, if someone already saw the quick guide or the unedited guide about this character, you can skip this one entirely. But if you haven't, or if you see the or you saw the normal guide, the unedited guide, and didn't understand a thing, well, you can see this one and this one. It's gonna be a little bit better, but not a lot because I don't know how to do these things. Uh, so yeah, we're gonna be taking a look at the character in all the specifications, the skills, and then I'm gonna give you my recommendations about what to upgrade and everything in that matter. And as you can see right away, he is already one of my most powerful characters, and is only at 4 stars. I only have 1 star on the Arclight, as you can see here, so he is not max by any means. He is not max, and he's still almost a 40k combat power just like that. And it's still working very good for me. I can still use it against even max level players on the multiplayer, and even some that have pay to win team. So starting with the basic, we're gonna go and take a look at the basic attributes. As you can see, this character has very poor magical defense and mediocre physical defense. Already tells us that this character may be some kind of a glass cannon. Glass cannon means usually a character that can make a lot of damage, can inflict a ton of damage to the enemies, but is also very fragile and very easy to kill. And you constantly need other characters or skills or whatever to protect it. So this kind of gives us a little hint that this may be a fragile character. But also we see that has A on HP, so he's not as fragile as other characters. And we see a double S, one on attack and one speed. That means that this character hits very hard and moves very fast, which is quite a little bit common nowadays because the majority of characters that we have been getting, like Seshi or Robo Hamusuke, even Tank Sisita, a lot of them have double S or S on one. It could be either on attack or S on speed. This character has both, has attack and speed at the same time. So that's quite an indicator that this character is suffering from, the power creep that is on this game right now, which is good for the ones that get it because it's a powerful character, but bad for the ones that don't have it yet. If you're wondering, before we go deeper into this character, if you're wondering if the character is worth it, and if you should get it before the banner is over, it's 14 hours remaining on the banner. You maybe, if you see this video in 1 hour or less than 1 hour that has been uploaded, sorry, then you probably have like 12 hours remaining on the banner. But if you see it one day after or something like that, the character is already out. But if you're thinking about getting the character or the Arclight, get it. It's absolutely worth it. Even if you don't play a meta composition, you can still put it there and works with a lot of teams I'm gonna tell you at the end of this video. Now, the accessories. The accessories always give us a hint about what is the best for this character to upgrade on the relic set and sub attributes. We can see that at tier level 3, this character gains 20% assist rate. That is a very good amount for a range character, a ranger like this class is. Not only that, but at tier level 6 we obtain 10% attack, which is very common in warrior type characters and also on mage type characters. So it's good. I don't have anything bad about it. I don't complain. And at tier 9, we obtain 10% critical chance. Majority of rangers on this game, instead of obtaining 10% critical chance with the accessories, they usually gain critical damage because they depend on you putting enough relics and enough attributes that you have a decent crit chance. This character is straight up giving you more crit chance instead of crit damage. So you're having an easier time making this character crit. Uh, Before we go to the relics, we're gonna take a look at the skills to know what this character is about and how it scales. But remember what I said about the accessories by the time we get to the relic set. Now, the basic attack is Phantom Flash. It deals magical damage based on certain percentage of the attack of the character and converts 60% of the damage dealt into his own HP. What does that mean? That means lifesteal. Lifesteal like other characters do, like for example the Vampire Bride. But it's more powerful this one because lifesteal in this game converts 35% of the damage into healing. This is 60%. This is almost double, which is quite powerful honestly. And aside of that, the basic attack doesn't have any other special attribute, any effect, or something like that. And it's a single target skill, so you can only hit a single enemy with this. Now we're gonna take a look at the first skill, the Dark Flame Charge. When you upgrade this skill to level 2 and up, you obtain an advantage that the let's say half of this skill is gonna activate as soon as the game starts without you having to do anything, and the other half is it's only gonna activate when you actively use this skill. So, um, before using the skill, this character is going to obtain the Soul Walker state for 2 rounds, and it's up here on the left. What is that? It's a buff that cannot be dispelled, so no one can take it away from this character. That increases the assist rate 50% and critical chance by 30%. Dealing damage in the Soul Walker state in this buff has a 100% basic chance to inflict burn for 2 rounds, and the effects inflicted in Soul Walker state nullify 50% of the enemy effect resistance. What the game doesn't tell you in that description is that that burn is the infernal flame that appears down there. So when you hit someone in this state, you put Infernal Flame. What is Infernal Flame? Well, it's a debuff on the enemies that cannot be purified and deals magical damage equal to 20% of the inflictor's attack, in this case Momon attack, per stack before action, up to 5 stacks. Each time this Infernal Flame is inflicted, it triggers immediately. So it can make a maximum damage of 100% of Momon attack each time the enemy has an action or you trigger it. Basically, it's burn, like the one that Mage Albedo puts, or the one that this Desolation set can put, the one that Demiurge puts, and so, but stronger. This is basically a burn that lasts the same time 2 rounds, but can be stacked up to 5 times instead of the normal burn that can only be activated once and then trigger it. And this one not only triggers when you reapply it or when the enemy gets a turn, but also as soon as you put it, even for the first time, it triggers. So it's the normal burn on steroids, and even more. Aside of that, when you use the skill, Momon consumes 10% of his own max HP to deal magical damage equal to a certain percentage of his attack. And even if this character is low on HP, like even if the character has 8% remaining HP, he's always gonna retain at least 1 HP. So this character cannot kill himself by using the skills. Also, when this character is in the Soul Walker state, the advantage that you obtain, or when you activate a skill, if the target is affected by Infernal Flame, it's gonna be triggering Infernal Flame once again. So you can trigger the burn multiple times with this character. Not needing other burn type characters to constantly reapply and triggering the Infernal Flame or the burn on the enemies. So basically, you hit an enemy by a decent amount of damage, you lose 10% of HP with this character, but you obtain a very incredible and very powerful buff that increases your assist rate by 50% and you crit by 30%. If you don't know what assist rate is when you use another character to attack and then a second character goes in and attacks right after it. Like, imagine I have in the same team this Momon and I don't know, Entoma, and I get the Entoma turn and I order her to throw a skill, let's say the ultimate, towards the Dominion Authority, one boss of the Treasury, right? I order her to attack that boss. If I have high enough assist rate, or if I get lucky with the percentage, there is a chance that this character in question, or anyone that has assist rate, is gonna jump right after my Entoma, right after the character that I have a turn, and attack this same target with a basic attack. They're not gonna throw any skill or anything, just a basic attack. So you have a chance that your character plays out of turn, just like chase or counter can be used when they're not in their respective turns. So you can have a chance of this character harassing the enemy alongside his own allies. Now, we're gonna take a look at the no retreat, the passive skill. For now, I tell you, if the Dark Flame charge sounded OP because of the Soul Walker state, the other two skills that are remaining are gonna sound even more OP. Well, this passive activates when Momon takes fatal damage. That means when he is low on HP or when an attack was gonna kill him. When he takes fatal damage, he becomes immune to that instance of damage and gains the no retreat state for 1 round, with a cooldown of 6 rounds for the no retreat to reappear. This passive cooldown is reduced by 2 rounds whenever any ally unit, whenever any unit at all, not only allies, on the field dies. That means that if you kill an enemy, you're gonna refund 2 rounds of cooldown. But if an ally also dies, you're gonna refund another 2 rounds of cooldown. When you're well, first I'm gonna explain the no retreat. The no retreat state is here on the left as well. It's a buff that cannot be dispelled, so things like Anniversary Albedo or Pandora's Actor are not gonna be able to take away this buff or even replicate it. The user speed is decreased by 50%. That means that Momon is gonna get his speed cut in half, but in exchange for that, they're gonna become immune to all the damage, and all damage they take will convert into HP. That is the description. That means that when this character is about to die, instead of dying, he is like immortal for a period of time, where all the damage that he received, instead of damaging him, is gonna heal him. Kind of like other characters work in the MOBA genre of games, when they absorb all damage and they just tank even more. Well, this is the same. When he's about to die, the enemies have to change focus, because if they keep attacking this character, they're gonna increase his own HP. They're gonna put it to half HP or to full HP if they don't change the focus. Also, when this character enters the no retreat state, where he starts healing all the incoming damage, he also increases his attack by 50% and the damage dealt by 50%. Remember that those are different. Attack is the stat that you obtain, or the stat that you have as your basic attribute right here, the one that has the S. But the damage dealt is different. That is after the final calculations that the game makes. When the game calculates how many damage the enemy took, because it's taking in consideration your character statistics, your character special skills, and everything, and also taking into consideration the enemy character defense, stats, buffs, shields, and all of those things. And after that, the final number that the game gives is the damage dealt. So you're increasing your attack basically double. And upon entering the no retreat state, purifies all the debuffs and gains debuff immunity. Debuff immunity basically that you cannot be applied with any debuff. So the enemies cannot put speed down on you, the enemies cannot stun you, they cannot put something like silence or taunt, or they cannot freeze the enemy if they have something like Saryusu. All the disadvantages, you're immune to them for 2 rounds. So even after your no retreat state ends, that is 1 round, you still have one more round of debuff immunity. So this character becomes basically immune to death for one round, can be healed by the enemy if they attack him too much. During one round, he has a ton of increased damage and damage dealt or attack in general, and becomes immune to the debuffs. That is quite OP. At 6 stars, we obtain also another upgrade. The activation of No Retreat grants himself the Soul Worker state, the one that I already told you that increases the assist rate and the crit chance, and resets the cooldown of the ultimate. So when this character is about to die, he gets the ultimate again, and he gains the powerful passive skill, the passive or the buff that he gains with Soul Walker. So yeah, 6 stars is definitely a big upgrade on this character. Now the ultimate, the obliteration of all. It's another single target skill, so you can only hit you can only hit a single enemy with this. When you activate it, the character consumes 20% of his own max HP, and like the Dark Flame charge, even if you have less HP than the one that the skill requires, you're always gonna retain at least 1 point of HP, so the ultimate cannot kill this character. And you deal magical damage based on certain percentage of the attack of the character. That depends on the level. Max level is 240% attack. So we see that is a heavy hit. It's a really powerful hit, but it's not just that. When you hit the enemy, grants you a 100% fixed chance. In this case, because it's fixed chance, it's guaranteed. Doesn't matter if the enemy has 20% of resistance or 200%. You're gonna apply it. So you had a 100% fixed chance to inflict the soul judgment on the target for 2 rounds. This skill is nullifying shield wall, sharing, and support skills. What shield wall is for example what the Death Knight or Tank Kokyutos do. When they use the ultimates, you're forced to focus them. You cannot target other characters on the same team with normal skills like the Dark Flame Charge. This character can bypass that, of course, but if you're using something like normal Momon or, for example, SSR, Entoma, or even, I don't know, uh, single target characters like, for example, Lukrut or um, normal Aura, the original version, you still have the chance to. You still have the. Well, not the chance, but you're forced to focus the enemy with shield wall. Sorry, I got distracted a little bit because something was happening here in real life. Anyway, back to this. You're focused to attack the ones that have shield wall. What support is what the guy of this lane theocracy with the two big shields does. What SR Yuri or what Tank Sisita do. Basically, when an enemy character is gonna attack one of their allies, the tanks that have support activate that skill, and what happens is that they jump in the way. Also, the PDL does that. That is when the character gets in the way between the attack of the enemy and the ally that was gonna originally be hurt. And for most characters, they tank the damage instead of the ally that was the original target. Kind of a little bit like the get down Mr. President meme. Basically, that is the support skill. And sharing is what Valkyrie Shelter does. Basically, here it is the Valkyrie Shelter. The sharing that Valkyrie Shelter does. A debuff that transfers part of the damage taken by the target to the one with sharing. Uh, Basically, let's say I have Valkyrie Shelter on my team and random characters as the rest. That means that if an attack, let's say the Dark Flame Charger of an enemy Momon, attacks my allies, part of that damage is gonna be directly transferred to Shelter, as if Momon was attacking Shelter herself instead of an ally of Shelter. So she gives like a little bit of tankiness to the team with that. Well, you can bypass all of those tank skills with this ultimate. So you can ignore some of the most annoying defense that the tanks have. Not only that, but this skill nullifies 50% of the target defense. So even if you're against a very tanky team, or you are against a tank that annoys you a lot, like for example in my case, Tank Sisita or Tank Hamuske are the ones that annoy me the most, you can use this character to destroy them. because it's gonna ignore 50% of their defense. And remember that tanks are almost always full defense, full HP. Soul Judgment cannot be purified. Sadly, the game doesn't tell us what Soul Judgment it is, but as part of that, we can see that this may be the description, even if the game doesn't tell us. Reduces the effect resistance of the enemy by 50% and critical chance by 50%. When the debuffs are successfully inflicted, adds 1 stack of the Infernal Flame for 2 rounds, up to 5 stacks of Infernal Flame per action. That means that you use the ultimate, you can put the Infernal Flame again, not just with the Dark Flame Charge, or not only with the Soul Walker state on your basic attacks as well, but if you put the debuffs, you put also Infernal Flame, so you can put double Infernal Flame if you successfully apply it. And not only that, but you can use this as some kind of anti-ranger skill. Why? Because the majority of rangers are crit dependent. They depend on having high critical chance. Like for example, Seshi, probably the most popular ranger on the high level or the pay to win players. Mine has 66% crit. I already show you how she performs on some events, some levels, bosses, and so. And I made a guide of her, and you see that even with 66% critical chance, no relic set. Like I only have random relics. You can see not a set. She performs really well. But if you take away the crit from her, she's only a fast character that can stun you sometimes. She's entirely dependent on crit. If you do that, for example, against this Entoma, she's gonna have a very low crit. Instead of 75%, it's gonna be 25. And she can obtain another 30 with her skills, yeah, but every time you ult her, you're gonna be taking away her crit. Other characters like my Momon is not crit base, the normal one, but he can still crit just because of what I got with the skills. With the relic, sorry. And you can see that he has 40%. So what happens if you use the Momon ultimate on the original Momon? In my Momon in this case. Well, you make him unable to ult or to crit in the ult. Because he can ult, he was gonna deal damage based on his attack, but he's never gonna be able to land a critical hit. So the most dangerous parts about this character, or the are the way, or the capabilities of completely nullifying the enemy's defense, or their ways of performing a crit, because you're taking away 50% of the defense. That is probably the most important part of a tank on the stats at least, and 50% of the crit of rangers if you hit them, which is dependent on some characters. On others, no. Like for example, Shock Aura, she's not dependent, so you cannot counter her quite like you will counter a Seshi. But you can still. Not only that, but at 5 stars if you get the character, each 8 times that the Infernal Flame triggers, this character is gonna use Phantom Flash to chase the enemy that has the Infernal Flame. Basically, this character not only can perform an assist, but also can perform chases at 5 stars or more. If you get lucky, you can make this character perform an assist and a chase on the same turn. And that means you're gonna be basically hitting the enemy twice in the same round without having to worry about not having enough damage to take down the enemy. So because this character is gonna be constantly harassing the enemies. Now, before I get overcomplicated and confuse everyone, the Arclight. 1 versus 1000 Arclight increases your attack, your HP on flat amounts, and your assist rate on 10%. Has an exclusive effect on this character, that is that Infernal Flame damage nullifies 25% defense, and when it's triggered, randomly triggers 1 damage over time effect between Bleed, Shock, and Burn on the target. What doesn't tell you the game is that if the enemy doesn't have any damage over time effect, the ones that are down here, Shock, Burn, and Bleed, what happens is that when you attack the enemy and you put the Infernal Flame, this Arclight is gonna trigger Infernal Flame again, because there is no other damage over time effect. So you put Infernal Flame as soon as you hit the enemy, gets triggered immediately because that is what Infernal Flame does. And because of this arc light, if the enemy doesn't have bleed, shock, or burn, you're gonna apply it again. You're gonna trigger it a second time with this arc light. And that is quite powerful, I will say, really. And well, also if you get this arc light to 6 stars, that 25% extra defense is gonna become a extra defense, no, that 25% defense that you nullify, it's gonna become 50%. You double up. And the assist rate, instead of being 10%, is gonna be 20% at max stars. So you increase 2% by each extra star that you get. If you don't have this arc light, or if you don't like it, I have some um, other alternatives. One is a cheap one that you can obtain in the store or even randomly trying to get better arc lights. And this is the winning strike. If you want to use, a cheap one of your low level or whatever. Increases your attack and your HP on flat amounts, but aside of that, also increases your crit on the character, which is kind of good because this is a base or a crit based character. It is based on, hitting as hard as possible, and that is what crit allows you. The effect that this Arclight gives you is that each crit or critical hit grants certain percent of fixed chance. In my case, it's 100% because I have it 6 stars. I think it's just like 50% at 1 star. But you still gain a lot of fixed chance to trigger either burn, bleed, or shock randomly on the target with 2 rounds of cooldown. And because it has a chance of randomly triggering it, it doesn't mean that the enemy needs to have it. Even if the enemy doesn't have any of the damage over time effects, randomly one it's gonna trigger, and because it gets triggered, it gets applied. So you instantly apply either 1 stack of burn, 1 stack of bleed, or 1 stack of shock on the enemies. And that is quite good because the game is kind of confused when Infernal Flame takes place because it's his own skill, it's his own damage over time effect. It's like a stronger version of Burn. But when you use other characters that proc Burn, that trigger Burn, or in this case Arc Lights that do so, if there is not other debuffs, there are no other damage over time effects, they treat the Infernal Flame like normal Burn. So they trigger it like a burn. That means that if you had the winning strike Arclight, you attack someone with Momon that already has the Infernal Flame, you trigger it again, you put another stack, and this Arclight triggers, the enemy is gonna get triggered Infernal Flame again because the game thinks it's the normal burn one, the normal burn effect, this one. So you can kind of like abuse that. I don't know if it's an intended feature or it's a bug. Maybe it was an intended feature, and because this game has bad translation on the skills, maybe that got missed. But I don't know. This is a cheap alternative, okay? Now moving with the next one, that is now a legendary Arclight. So that's a little bit more expensive. It's the Boost Morale, this one right here. It's also for rangers, like the other one, and increases your attack, your HP on flat amounts, but also your assist rate, which is good because it's giving you exactly the same that the exclusive Arclight of Momon. Not only that, but also the effect is quite good. The user, in this case Momon, gains 12.5% in the turn meter boost after launching an assist, a chase, or a counter, up to 1 time per action. If you have the character 4 stars or less, every time the character makes an assist, you obtain more turn meter. If you have it 5 stars or more, you have a chance to proc, assist, and chase in either separate moments or on the same time. If you do it at the same time, you obtain this boost double basically. And combine a character that is very fast with an Arclight that boosts his own turn meter, you're basically speeding. You're constantly getting a turn with this character to be hitting and harassing the enemy and recharging your cooldowns and all of that. So this makes a very, very nice combo. But if you don't like it, or if you don't have it, or maybe you just want to see the other alternative, is terribly sorry. This one right here. As you can see, gives you attack, HP, and so on flat amounts, the usual. But also gives you critical damage, which is, the usual things, the critical damage. Aside of that, gives you the general effect that when you enter stealth, well, When you start the game, you enter the stealth state. The stealth state is basically an invisibility. That means that you cannot get targeted by single target skills like the ones that I explained on this same character. And basically, here is this stealth description: gives you untargetable and reduces the damage taken by 20%. Taking any damage will break this stealth effect. So, when you're on the stealth effect, you become invisible. They can only hit you using things like area of effect skills, the skills that hit 2, 3, 4 enemies, all the screen, only those things can damage the enemy, or in this case, the character with stealth. They're gonna take decreased damage, and stealth is gonna break. So you're obtaining a little bit of extra coverage for the character at the start of the game. But not only that, if the stealth gets break, in the same action, you obtain an increased critical chance. The increased critical chance helps into this character because it's a crit based character. So if you're increasing the crit even more, you have more chances of reaching the 100% crit chance. That will be a guaranteed critical hit every time you attack, which is good because each time that you use the Dark Flame charge or the Obliteration of All, or your character makes any assist or chase attack, you're gonna be hitting even harder than usual. And because this Arclight gives you increased critical damage, that means that even if you crit, you're still dealing more damage than you will expect, even if you don't upgrade any stat of the critical damage part. So that will be the recommendations when Strike, the Boost Morale, and the Terribly Sorry Arclights, if you don't have the 1 versus 1000, or if you don't want the 1 versus 1000. Not only that, uh, there is also the Awakening part. The Awakening part, as you can see, only have a level 15 of 30 levels, and I don't have any gems there because I still haven't got the ones that I want to put there. But here is the best example that I have to show you of what will be recommendations, except for the red ones. Uh, in the green ones, I will put this one, the energy gem attack, the one that increases it by a percentage, because it's better to increase 4% the percentage of attack of a character that has 4k, 5k, or 6k attack, than increasing it by 12, that 424, by 60 attack, flat amounts. It's better always the percentage version. In the red ones, the round ones, instead of the mighty gem effect precision ones that I have right here, the recommended ones will be either the ones that increase your crit, like this one, like you can get it easily to 4%. Doesn't sound like a lot. When you stack that with the relics and so, it's a decent amount. You can use the crit one if you still struggle to reach 70% crit, that is the recommended one. Or if you already have that cap of crit, go for critical damage. So that way, when you crit, you hit even harder than usual. And the one in the middle, the rare one, just put any one that gives attack. Put any gem that increases the attack, even if it's a flat amount like this one, because here there is no gems that increase the attack on percentage. And the one for level 30, the exclusive class, you can put either the one that increases the attack, like this blue one, or let me show you in the crafting section here, or you can put the one that is for rangers that increases the assist rate, because um, we're gonna take in consideration something like right now. This character obtains 30% crit chance with his whole work state. That is 30% chance. If you can reach 70% with your barrel attributes using relics, awakening levels, and so, when you activate this whole walker state, that means that you have a guaranteed crit because you have 100% crit. But if you don't, you can reach like 60 and still gain mostly a lot of crit because you will have 90 something percent crit of chance to hit the enemy with a critical hit. Not only that, but if we make it here the stats, we see 20% assist rate on the accessory on the tier 3. 20% there, plus 10% more assist rate with this arc light or the boost morale if you have that one. So that is 30% assist rate. Not only that, but the soul workers they give you 50% more. So 50 and 30 is 80%. You have 80%. If you can get the other 20 between relics and awakening levels or awakening gems, you will have a guaranteed character that is gonna make an assist each time your other characters attack the enemy. So you could guarantee it. You could make this character like the normal version of himself that chases all the time. Well, this one is gonna assist all the time. Even if you would get it just to the 80%, that is still a character that is gonna be making assist very often and harassing the enemy. Now the relic set, that is the tricky and the longest part usually. Well, that is on the recommended themes. As you can see here, I do have the termination set, and the game recommends you others that I do not think are good. The game recommends you execution, desolation, and termination set. Desolation increases your effect precision and the chance of inflicting blade burn or shock on the enemy. This character does not depend on shock burn on blade, and the effect precision is not needed because this character has fixed chance of putting some debuffs and 100% basic chance to put in the infernal flame. So you don't need a lot of effect precision. Only if you're trying to go against characters that increase the effect resistance a lot. But there's very few characters that do that, like SR Lupus Regina or the Anniversary Velo. And Termination set is probably the best one, but if you want an alternative, I would recommend the Sunset set. Increases your attack by certain percentage, and your character is gonna deal 7.5% extra damage for every 20% the HP that the enemy is missing. That means that the lower the enemy gets on HP, the stronger your character gets. So the longer the fight goes, the more potential your character has to increase his damage. But the best is still termination, because you increase the critical chance with this relic and the special effect of nullifying 30% of the target defense. So now imagine you nullify 30% of the damage with this set, plus the arc light when Infernal Flame triggers ignores 25%. That means that when Infernal Flame triggers, you're ignoring 55% of the enemy defense. Or when you use the ultimate obliteration of all, you ignore 50% of the enemy's defense. Combined with termination special effect, you ignore another 30%. That means that you're ignoring 80% of the total enemy defense. That means that the enemy only has 20% of their original defense to stand against your damage. That's why you can use this character as an anti-tank or an anti-ranger. If you use it against a tank and you have it properly leveled up and so, you destroy tanks, and if you use it against a ranger, you're probably gonna one-shot the ranger in question. Unless that ranger has a character that revives them, or that gives them some kind of invulnerability or way of cheating death. That's why Termination set is the best. It combines with the ultimate very well. It combines with the arc light effect and also increases the crit. That is basically all about this character. Not only that, but the sub attributes of this relic set are easy to get, but not really easy to max. As you can see here, my Termination Mask has a C on crit, very low, but it's still crit, and A on speed. Speed is one of the two strongest basic attributes of this character, so it's fine. A double S, one on defense, one on effect resistance. Effect resistance is not really needed because this character, when he's about to die, he purifies all of his debuffs and becomes immune to any debuffs or disadvantages. So effect resistance is not needed, and defense is decent because this character needs a little bit of defense. Otherwise, his passive no retreat is gonna be proc in one or two hits from the enemy. So the main reason I have this is because it gives me crit and speed, and I don't have really good termination mask available for this character. But if you want, like a better example, the one that I'm showing you right here on the right is a better example. Still S on effect resistance can be ignored. A C on HP is decent. The more HP, the harder it is for this character to die. And double S again on crit and speed. More critical chance, it's better. You have more chances of actually hitting the enemy for a high amount of damage, higher than usual. And as on speed, you're boosting the speed of the character, so it plays faster than usual, while this very often compared to characters that have A or B on the speed department. So the one on the right will be a really good example. Also, I have Determination Armor. Double A, one on reduction to the damage over time is not really needed because you can use a healer to, mitigate the damage over time, and so that can be ignored. C on HP. That is not really good at all, but at least is a little bit of HP, you know. A on speed, S on attack. You're playing into the strong side of this character. This character has S on speed and attack on the basic attributes. So if you boost that with your relic set, you're basically going all in on the strong side of the character. Also, you see here that has on the Stars Blade, I don't have a Termination Blunderbuss because I already used all my good Termination Blunderbusses. So I have to use another relic set here. That's what I'm using a Stars Blade. The Stars Blade has B on HP, it's decent amount, not the best, not the worst. Double A, 1 on speed, 1 on attack. Basically, I'm boosting the best attributes of the character here, and also giving him a S on critical chance. So I have a higher chance of hitting the enemy by a ton of damage. That will be a really good relic if I could have like at least an A on HP, to keep it even with the other stats. But it's still good. And here a termination base. B on attack is not the best, is not the worst. At least it's on attack and not other, attribute. At least it's attack. Double A, one on defense, one on HP. Okay, that way it doesn't remain as a glass cannon and is on speed. Again playing into the advantages of this character. You could change, if you get lucky, all the times that I got HP or defense here for damage boost and will be better. Because this character is all about the offensive. Even when he's about to die, it's still an offensive character because it can reset his ultimate cooldown, can still perform assistances and so. So imagine when you go to the no retreat state, you get the increased attack, increased damage dealt, and the character still performs an assist. You're still dealing a ton of damage, even if the character is, on the blink of death. If you want a better example instead of the crit-based character, I could use the sunset example using this character here. But this is all about attack. You to play into the sunset special effect and into the S of the character. Like here you can see an S on damage boost and A on crit. Here you can see another S on attack, a little bit of critical damage with a B there, an A on speed, another A on the attack attribute, and here you're seeing S on HP, S on attack, and A on effect precision. That will be if you want to play all about attack in not critical chance or critical hits. But if you're going crit, that is like, the most optimal way for this character, in my opinion. The termination set will be the best. Now, going with the relic enhancements, the one that I would recommend the most is the Unstoppable War enhancement. From level 1 to level 5, Unstoppable only increases the critical damage on certain percentage. From level 6 to level 10, aside of increasing the critical damage and percentage, also increases the assist rate. And this is the best because we already combine all the assist rate that you can get, and you can get up to 80%. 80%. If you can get this enhancement to level 10, you obtain 15% assist rate. That means that you're obtaining 15% out of the 20 remaining. You could use a rune on the awakening levels to obtain the remaining 5%, and with that, you guarantee the 100% assist rate on the character. That is one of the best things that you could get on the character. In my case, I have a level 6, so I only have 6% assist rate. That means that in my case, I obtain 86% assist rate as my total assist rate. So I'm closer to the 100% than before, yes, but I'm not still on the 100% because I don't have the Unstoppable maxed. As the second one, that Unstoppable is your priority. But as your second recommendation of what you should be upgrading should be Punch for Punch, because it increases your critical chance from level 1 to level 5 in percentage, and from level 6 to level 10, aside of increasing the critical chance, is also giving you damage boost. So even if your character doesn't crit, you're still dealing extra damage because of the damage boost. So you're still good to go there. As the third option that you should be trying to prioritize or trying to get is the Hot Pursuit enhancement. The Hot Pursuit enhancement makes that your chases or your assist attacks deal additional damage equal to certain percentage of the attack depending on the level of the enhancement, going from 13% up to 80% and additional damage that nullifies 40% of the enemy's defense. This is good because even if you have the character 4 stars or 3 stars, the character still performs a lot of assist attacks. So with Hot Pursuit, you're getting at the bare minimum extra 30% attack as damage on your assist. If you can increase the level, you increase the damage as well. But if you have the character 5 stars or more, you're not only gaining this benefit on the assist attacks, but also on the chases that the character does when the Dark Flame or when the Infernal Flame triggers 8 times on the same enemy. Uh, so you can do double benefit with the Hot Pursuit stat. As the other options that you could prioritize on the enhancement of the relics, one is the Stranded effect. The targets inflicted with control effects receive certain percentage of more of increased skill damage. Level 1 increases it by 6%, level 5 increases it by 40% with a 50% chance of reducing one round of the skill cooldown. So if you have characters that can put control effects, you combine them with this character and this enhancement and you increase the attack. My case is level 3, so I gain 20% more skill damage. Control effects are things that silence, that freeze the enemy, that taunt the enemy, or straight up stun the enemy. So the majority of characters that make control effects are usually tanks. So if you played a tank with this ranger, you can obtain this combo. The other one, I don't have it right here, so I have to change character fast, is the play with fire one. Because of the little mechanic that I already told you, where the game doesn't, if the enemy doesn't have many damage over time effects, the game doesn't know what is the Infernal Flame at all and treats it like a normal burn when it needs to get triggered. So, what the Play with Fire enhancement does is that if the target has burn, increases the attack by 2% at level 1, stacking up to 4 times or 4 stacks. If you have level 5, the attack increases by 12% instead of 2%, and the damage by 5% can be stacked up 4 times as well. So if you have Play with Fire, every time you attack an enemy with burn, you're putting the Infernal Flame in the enemy as another stack. You trigger it, and because you put it once and you trigger it, the Play with Fire enhancement activates and increases your character's attack by a certain percentage depending on the level of the enhancement. So those will be the basic recommendations for the enhancements. The one that increases your critical damage and gives you assist rate, the one that increases your critical chance and then your damage boost, and Hot Pursuit, so you increase the chases and the assist attacks, the total damage, and finally the ones that you could get between Stranded if you're gonna combine him with characters that make control effects, or with Play with Fire in case you're gonna play him with characters that are for burn compositions or that can put or trigger burn additionally. Now to the last part of this is the characters or themes and compositions that you can play either with the character or around the character. I'm gonna go randomly, so I don't know if I'm gonna go for most powerful to weakest. But the first one, for example, I already told you, a burn theme. Well, it's kind of like a niche one because no one plays a burn theme anymore. But is of course this character. Then you go back here with the normal or the original version of the merge. He puts burn on the enemies when he throws the ultimate skill or the second skill. Not only that, but he has the chance of stunning the enemy when he puts burn, so the enemy loses a turn or maybe even 2 turns. And with the captain skill, when this character throws the ultimate, and as long as the ultimate remains on the battlefield, all the burn damage increases by 25%. That includes the Infernal Flame. So the Infernal Flame is gonna deal 25% extra damage aside of the total damage that are already calculated with the skills and so. Not only that, but you can use the normal version of Albedo as the mage on the burn team. Because the ultimate, the Invader's Doom, has a chance of inflicting burn on the enemy. It's a low chance, it's a 30% basic chance, but it hits 4 times, so you have 4 chances of putting burn on the enemy, or if the enemy already has burn, you can reapply the burn. Also, this character puts damage aggravation, so the enemy takes 40% more damage when you attack him. That is a huge increase on damage. Not only that, but you can combine these characters with the Supreme skill Negative Burst from the original Supreme Leader that you can use. And when you throw that skill, you not only throw back 7.5% of the turn meter of the enemy and deal additional damage to all the enemies inside, but aside of that, if you combine that with the Emerge being alive on the battlefield, he is gonna add extra magical damage and an extra chance of putting burn on the enemy from the very start of the game. So you're focusing all on the burn damage, and then you have the Halloween Momon that is gonna put the Infernal Flame on the enemy, is gonna trigger it all over again. He's gonna make assist attacks every time you're throwing the other character's ultimates, and you still have one slot remaining for any other character that you want. You could use any healer that you have or you want. Like if you had Pestonia, you can use Pestonia. If you had Pandora's Actor, you can use Pandora's Actor. If you want to use Lupus Regina as your healer, you can use her. If you want to use a tank instead of a healer, you could use the PDL, the Platinum Armor, to stall. You put the War Barrier, you defend everyone, and you stall time for when you gain the ultimate again for all the characters. If you want to use more meta characters, you could use the two actual best tanks for multiplayer, or you can go for Valkyrie Shalter, so she lowers the enemy defense and offers the damage sharing, so everyone gets a little bit of extra tankiness and they don't become glass cannons. But if you want to uh, maximize the burn damage, instead of all those tanks, you use this tank, the Zeta version of tank, the Fearless Chariot. So when you use the ultimate of this character, you lower the enemy's magical defense by certain percentage. If we see here to the Fire Owl, you make the enemies take 20% more magical damage. So you can combine that 20% more plus the 25% extra burn damage when the Mirage is the captain, plus all the extra 25% of defense that you're gonna ignore with Momon Arclight when the Infernal Flame triggers, plus the 30% defense ignored when you're using a Termination set. So you still maximize all the burn damage. But that is not a meta team, so not a lot of people is gonna be playing that. Other team that you could use is, of course, a full speed team. That means all characters that have S on speed and any other stat. That case, you're gonna be using this tank right here that has an S on physical defense, an S on the speed, alongside this other character has S on speed and S on magical defense. Both characters in combination are gonna give you a ton of magical and physical defense and are gonna decrease the enemy's defense, maximizing the damage that your damage dealers are gonna make. Then you can combine this character right here, the Not Dead No Life, because it has another S on speed, A on attack, and is crit dependent. So you have a heavy hitter that moves very fast and makes critical hits on the physical side of the things, while you have this Halloween version that is gonna make a lot of damage, move very fast, but it's gonna deal magical damage instead of physical damage. So if you face a specific boss or an enemy composition that is depending or that is very strong against physical damage, you use this character and Sita to throw them down. But if it's the other way and the enemies are very resistant to magical damage, then you use the Rohamuski and Seshi to bring them down using physical damage. So you have the two more usual kinds of damage already covered up with these characters and tanks. If you don't want to be, all speedy using full characters that have S on speed, you can change them. If you don't like the Seishi and you want more magical damage, you could use Victim instead. Because Victim deals a lot of magical damage, area of effect, so he affects everyone on the screen. He lowers their magical defense with the second skill, and with the ultimate has the chance of stunning the enemies. And also you can go full crit on him and transform this character into basically a living nuke. If you don't want that, you could go for a full assist team. That means that you could use Nigredo here. She's probably the third character most likely to perform assistance on the team. Then you have the Maid Albedo, that is basically the assist character, the definite assist character, because she has double guarantee of making assist attacks when other allies attack right after her, and right after she throws the second skill that is a hurricane. So you have a character that constantly makes assist, and when the attack successfully lands on the enemy, it puts a debuff that makes the enemies take increased critical damage. And we can see the percentage right here on the skill section is critical damage resistance down. That makes that the enemies take 30% more critical damage. So you're increasing everyone's crit by that. If you want other variants of the assist team, you could use the SSR version of Entoma, the one with the golden mark, the one that has a shield and a sword. You have another character that performs assist. You have full team where you're missing a tank or you're missing a healer. If you want a healer that has a chance of making assist, you use Pandora's Actor because he copies buffs. So every time someone gets an assist rate up, like Nigredo can, Pandora's Actor is gonna copy that and will have the chance of making an assist. If you don't want an assist one and you want a tank that maximizes your damage for the ones that make an assist, you use this character one here because it puts high tier defense down on the enemy. High tier defense down decreases the enemy's defense by 40%. So everyone gets 40% more damage done on those specific enemies that you use the ultimate on. If you don't want an assist team, you can go for a Momon team. Basically, is using the two version of the character, the Halloween one and the original one. The original is gonna be making chases all the time, so he's gonna follow up all the instances of damage that your team does, and the Halloween version is gonna be making assist attacks, so he can make an assist right after your other character makes a chase on the turn of your tank. So you have both sides cover up. Still one does physical damage, other does magical damage. Both can go full crit damage, so you're still like a powerhouse. And you can use either of the two tanks that I already told you to have the meta, the ones right here, the sides of the original Momon. And as your healer, if you want to maximize the combo, you use Pestonia or you use the anniversary version of Albedo. If you use the anniversary version, you have a healer that offers you shields, offers you healing, one indomitable, so when someone is about to die, to remain with 1 HP, gives you critical damage resistance, can dispel the enemy advantages when she throws the basic attack. She can also have an execute on the ultimate skill, takes away 10 action points from the enemy supreme leader, and not only that, with someone is about to die, she has two invulnerabilities to spare that is gonna apply immediately when someone takes fatal damage. If you don't have that character, you can use Pestonia in her place. You still have a healer with S on HP, so the healer is hard to kill. And if you have the ultimate level up and the arc light of the character, aside of increasing the healing and so, when you throw the ultimate on someone, you have the chance of reducing 1 or 2 rounds of the cooldown of that character. Aside of giving them 100% turn meter boost, that means that they're gonna play right after her. So if you combine that with any of the version of Momo, you can restore their ultimates right away. So you can ult, then you get to Pestonia's turn, you use the ultimate on any of the two characters damage dealers that you want, they get another turn, and if they don't have the ultimate refresh because you didn't get lucky with the arc light, you at least gain a second turn before some enemies even get their first turn. So you're one entire round ahead of the enemy with this strategy or with this team. So you can use any of those two healers if you want. But if you don't like that, you can go full Momon based team, an entire team centered about the Halloween version one. And that is Cizeta, the tank version, because no one uses the Ranger one. She's gonna lower the enemy magical defense and increase everyone on her team the magical defense. So you're basically an anti-mages at that point. You use big team on the same team because big team on the skills with the flesh sacrifice gives everyone 8% attack based on the 50% HP he is missing, and also gives 12% of his own attack as extra attack to all of his allies. And if he dies, those effects double up. So that 8% becomes a 16%, and that 12% becomes a 24%. And you still have a damage dealer, you still have a mage that hits everyone on the screen. That is your second one. The Halloween version is gonna get boosted by all of that extra attack, and then you use this healer right here because she's gonna be able to give invulnerability to anyone who need it. So even if they're gonna kill big team, or even if they're gonna kill your tank, your defense, this character, this healer, is gonna keep them alive for at least 2 more rounds, because the invulnerable lasts for 2 rounds. Not only that, but if even if the enemies focus this character, your Halloween version, even if they proc the no retreat state, and they wait the extra round so this character doesn't heal because he didn't receive attacks, and then try to focus him again because they want to kill him before the no retreat cooldown gets refreshed, the invulnerabilities from the healer are gonna activate on this character, on this ranger, and that way you're having one entire round that this character is gonna skip death because of the no retreat state. Then if the enemies try to kill him right away, your Universal Albedo can keep him alive another 2 rounds with invulnerability. And even if you can get your characters, the rest of your team to be safe and not to die, even if the enemies try to focus him again, you can proc the second invulnerability from Albedo, and that will be another 2 rounds of invulnerability to death of this character. So you have 5 rounds, uh, basically, of being immune. You only have to gain time or buy 1 more round, so you gain the cooldown of no retreat again for this character. And that's not all, but if you time your skills correctly, even if you already run out of the vulnerabilities of your Universal Albedo, you can use the ultimate on this character when you're on that last round, or any order. You can throw the vulnerabilities at last or at first, doesn't matter. But if you throw the ultimate on this character, when he's about to die, instead of that, he gets indomitable and he survives with 1 HP. That means that you're buying an entire extra round. If you if you make the numbers, that means that you can keep this character alive for 6 rounds without fearing this character getting killed. And from those 6 rounds, at least 4 rounds he is invulnerable to all damage. And from those 6 rounds, 5 rounds he is immune to all the debuffs that the enemies can put. All the debuffs. No, it doesn't matter what debuffs is, what debuffs they throw to your character. So you have an entire team that focuses on increasing his attack and keeping him alive a lot. If you don't like that, and you don't want to play like the meta characters and the meta players and so, you want a more niche team, you can go for an adventurers team using the Peter Mork here, the adventurer character, more because of the passive. For every adventurer alive on the battlefield, he deals 2.4% more damage, up to 10% for each surviving adventurer on the team. This buff applies to all the adventurers. We can see here, between the adventurers, Momon and Nave are uh, counted as the adventurers right there. So you can put this character as your warrior, then you can go and put this version of Navi, the one that counts as the adventurer. So you have 2 adventurers that obtain a boost on damage. Then you use this character, because I was testing it to see if the original version was the only one that counted for the buff. And no, the Halloween version also counts for the buff. So you put him and you obtain another 2.5% extra boost on the damage. And then you can use any tank or any healer from the ones that I already told you, because you will be missing that. There's no good tank adventurer, there's no good healer adventurer. So you use any tank or healer that you want. And what is gonna happen is that you use the Peter Mork skill, this one right here. You use it so every ally gains turn meter boost when he attacks. Use this skill to make an ally adventurer make an assist, specifically the one with the highest attack. So you make an assist right there. During basically inviting Momon to deal extra damage to the enemy. Not only that, but combined with the passive, the Source of Darkness, you're increasing everyone's attack. And not only that, you're increasing everyone's attack, but combined with the version here, that means that you're increasing the attack of a character that is based all around crit. Not only that, but when the enemies are 40% HP or below, this character gains an additional 25% extra damage and an additional 25% crit boost when you're attacking those targets. And if that target dies, or if it gets below 30% max HP, this character is gonna throw the skill that you decide to use all over again. And if you kill that character with the same skill, the character is gonna throw the same skill all over again to the next target with the lowest HP. So you have a finisher right there. You have a character that is gonna finish the enemies off and kills them right away. And then you can use this character to lower them, the enemy defense. You get a turn with this character, you attack the enemies to leave them low HP, then you get to Nave's turn, you use Nave's ultimate to finish that enemy off, and if you successfully kill him, she's gonna throw the ultimate again to a different target low on HP, and if you time it all properly, you can kill the entire enemy team with the one use of Narval ultimate, because it's gonna be resetting every time she kills someone. But if you don't like the adventure team, you can go for a immortal team that is even more curious because no one is going to be using it aside of me. The immortal team basically includes this character because he's going to become immune to death for one entire round, and he's going to absorb all damage and convert it into HP. Aside of him includes the anniversary Velo because she heals, so you have a healer on the team, you have extra shields, and so gives an indomitable, so anyone who is about to die, you can give it the indomitable with the ultimate, so they survive with 1 HP at the very least for one extra round, and then she gives double invulnerability with the passive skill. The invulnerability not only is for two different characters or twice for the same depending on what you need, but also last for 2 entire rounds. So you have 2 rounds where those characters that have invulnerability are untouchable for the enemies. And then you can have one of 3 tanks. The cheapest one, the easiest to get, is the Death Knight tank, because when he is about to die, he obtains an increase on his defense, and even if he dies, the passive Undying Resolve resurrects him with a maximum of 60% max health or max HP. And if you can keep this character alive for 10 rounds, the resurrect is gonna refresh. So even if the enemies kill him, but 10 rounds already passed, he's gonna revive all over again, and then the 10 round cooldown restarts. So you can constantly keep this character reviving time and time again. The only bad thing is that this character doesn't give you much aside of being a punch bag right there. He's there, he absorbs a little bit of damage, he inflicts a little bit of bleed on the enemy, but it's just that. He doesn't lower enemies' defense, he doesn't stun them or anything like that. So you cannot make a lot of use from him. If you don't want that, you want better tanks, you can use the tank version of Cocytus, especially if he's 6 stars. If he's 5 stars or less, it's good because he's gonna give shield to everyone on your team. He's gonna give everyone a chance of having a counter attack during 2 turns, and if he gets close to death, he's gonna survive with 1 HP for one entire round because this character was the original character that has the indomitable effect. But if he's 6 stars, he can give Indomitable to an ally as well that is close to dying, and has a cooldown of 24 rounds. So if you can keep those allies and this character alive for 24 rounds after using the skill, it's gonna refresh and you have another Indomitable. But not only that, but if you don't like the counter tank, you can use Valkyrie Shelter. It gives you tankiness using damage sharing. Her ultimate lowers the enemy's attack by certain percentage. Is lowering it by 30% of the enemy's attacks at 6 stars. When it's 5 stars or less, is only 15%. But still, when this shield procs, it's gonna heal her. And if the enemies counter attack and destroy the shield is gonna explode and it's gonna heal everyone on her team if they are all low HP. Or if they're on uneven on HP, then she's gonna heal the one with the lowest HP. And if you use the basic attack, you have a chance of putting Vampire Hand on the enemy, and that means that when your characters attack the enemy with the Vampire Hand debuff, they're gonna heal. So you're offering with this tank healing to your team in different ways, lowering the enemy's attack, and damage sharing absorbing 50% of the damage to the allies take, so you make them tankier. Not only that, but when she receives fatal damage, instead of dying, she activates time reversal, just like in the books, and she revives with a cooldown of 5 rounds. When she revives, she's gonna be restored to the state of the end of her last action. So that means that if she died and her last turn she had 10% HP, then she's gonna revive with that 10% HP, less than the Dead Knight. But if she was one shotted, let's say, and she had the 100%, she's gonna revive with the 100%. And then additionally restores 40% of her max HP when she revives. So, and the cooldown is just 5 rounds. So if you can survive 5 rounds, if after she revives you can play her 5 times without the enemies killing her, she's gonna have the time reversal again, so she's gonna be able to revive one more time. And the second skill is still good because it has a fixed chance of putting defense down on the enemy, so you lower the enemy defense 30% and you throw back the enemy turn meter by 20%, so you delay the enemy turn when you attack them. So you have a healer, you have uh, 3 tanks that you could use as your immortals. You could use both tanks that are right here, or you can go just one tank if you don't want to use multiples. Then you have the Halloween version of the character here as your ranger, and the last one is this one, the limited version of Nave, because the passive skill, the Thunder Mark, makes her revive when she's here it is, at the end of any unit's round. If Navi is dead, it's gonna revive, and she resets the ultimate skill cooldown, granting her an extra turn, and resurrects with 60% of the current HP of the Thundermark bearer. That means the one that you apply the passive skill, capped at 240% of her physical defense, and the effect can only be activated once per battle. That means that unlike Momon or unlike the Shelter that can constantly revive, or the Dead Knight as well that can constantly revive, she can only revive once. But then you can use your healer to keep her alive extra times with the ultimate or the vulnerabilities, just like I explained. And she has S on HP and S on attack. That means that she's very balanced between the damage that can do and the damage that she can receive. Because she has S on HP, if you leveled up correctly this character, you have her like a semi-tank. You have with this character a warrior class character, you have with the moment your ranger class character, then you have a healer, and you can choose a good tank. If you don't like those options for tanks, you can use this tank. Doesn't have any revive or any healing on her own, but has enough HP and enough defenses that it doesn't matter how many times the enemies hit her, because she's just that tanky. Is the definitive tank. As long as I have seen, no tank is able to outlast her in battle. At least not even in 2 versus 1. I already uploaded a video where I'm using this character and Seshi against a full enemy team. Seshi gets killed halfway through the battle, and my tank Albedo is able to constantly receive damage from another tank Albedo and a Demiurge, and she can still outdamage the Demiurge to the point that she killed him on one turn. And she was so tanky, she was so resistant to all the damage, that my tank Albedo was able to survive for like 140 rounds or 140 actions, something like that. So basically, if you don't want the other tank options, you can use this character as your main tank, and she is literally just that tanky. Is the definitive tank. Is the basically the best tank that you can get in terms of defense, not in terms of what damage you can amplify and things like that. So you have an immortal team basically there. And next, what I'm gonna do right after this video or tomorrow maybe, it's gonna be showing you right here on the arena contest and the combat arena as well. Uh, the teams, all the teams that I already told you, I'm gonna be fighting here, using them in random order and showing you how they withstand against different enemy compositions. So you're gonna be seeing the burn team, the assist team, the meta team, the speedy team. You're gonna you're gonna be seeing the immortal team. Maybe not the adventurer team because I don't have the adventurers level up, but maybe I can show it. Um, yeah, the Momon team, the full focus on the Halloween version, and the one that focuses in both versions. So you're gonna have all the variety of the characters right there. Not only that, but um, if it gets too long, I might cut it in half and make several parts showing the different characters and showing you if it's good in things like Monster Hunt or other game modes. But I'm gonna cut it here so I don't get overly long, you know. I got as long as last night, yes, but at least this time it was more organized and more clear for everyone to understand. So thanks for hearing my awful voice and being here for over an entire hour or even more, I think. So yeah, until next time.